500 BC. No soap, no toothbrush, personal hygiene in ancient Greece. Imagine waking up in the greatest civilization on Earth, surrounded by philosophy, democracy, and breathtaking marble temples, and then realizing you have absolutely no idea how to get clean. Welcome to Athens 500 BC. To truly understand personal hygiene in the ancient Greek world, you have to completely strip away every modern assumption you carry with you. No soap, no toothbrush, no deodorant, no running water in your home. What you replace all of that with is something far more fascinating, an elaborate, surprisingly sophisticated daily ritual that the Greeks considered not just practical, but deeply sacred. A direct connection between a clean body and a disciplined, civilized mind. Step outside your modest clay-walled house at dawn, and the first thing that strikes you is the smell. Not the pleasant, soapy freshness of a modern bathroom, but a complex, layered combination of wood smoke, animal dung from nearby pens, and the faintly sweet, heavy scent of olive oil. Always olive oil, drifting from every doorway and skin surface around you. Because in 500 BC Athens, olive oil is soap. The oil and the scraper. The foundational act of personal cleanliness begins not with water and lather, but with a small ceramic or bronze flask called an arybalos, filled with fine olive oil, and a curved metal instrument called a strigil. Here is how the process works, and it is nothing like what you are imagining. You begin by coating your entire body in a generous layer of olive oil, working it into your skin with your bare hands. This oil serves as a solvent, loosening the accumulated grime, dead skin cells, and dried sweat from the previous day. Then, methodically, you drag the curved blade of the strigil across your skin in long, firm strokes, physically scraping away the oil along with everything it has collected. The resulting residue, a gray, oily paste of skin and dirt, falls away in dark rivulets. It sounds primitive, but consider this. Modern dermatologists acknowledge that the strigil method effectively cleans the skin while preserving its natural oils rather than stripping them the way harsh soap does. The Greeks may have been onto something. If you visit the public gymnasium, and in Athens you almost certainly do, because the gymnasium is not merely a place to exercise, it is the beating social heart of the city, you will witness this ritual performed communally and completely without embarrassment. After hours of wrestling, running, and throwing the discus in the open courtyard, dozens of men scrape themselves clean together, rinsing off with pitchers of cool water drawn from stone cisterns. Slaves attend to the wealthiest citizens, working the strigil across their backs with practiced efficiency. The discarded oil and sweat residue scraped from a famous athlete's skin was considered so valuable that it was collected and sold in small vials to admiring fans who believed it carried the champion's physical power. Yes, really. The bathhouse and the river. For a deeper, more thorough cleansing, Athens offers public bathhouses, balanion, scattered throughout the city's busier districts. Step inside and the air is warm and slightly steamy, thick with the mineral scent of heated stone. Unlike the spectacular cathedral-like Roman baths that will come centuries later, the Greek bathhouse is a far more modest and practical affair. Stone or terracotta hip baths are arranged in rows, filled with water heated in large bronze cauldrons over open fires. You sink in, the water reaching only to your waist, and use a rough sponge harvested from the Aegean Sea floor to scrub your skin. The sponge is dipped repeatedly into small clay pots containing a paste made from fine sand, pumice powder, or wood ash, the closest thing the ancient world has to a cleaning agent. For those living closer to the countryside or the coast, the rivers and the sea serve perfectly well. Children splash in the shallows of the Ilissos River on the edge of Athens, and fishermen bathe in the salt water of the Saronic Gulf, which the Greeks understood, instinctively if not scientifically, had a purifying and healing quality. Water for washing was also deeply religious. Before entering any temple, any sacred precinct, or any major public ceremony, ritual washing of the hands and face was absolutely mandatory. Large stone basins called perirontaria, filled with clean water, flanked every temple entrance. To approach the gods with an unwashed body was not merely rude, it was a genuine act of impiety that could bring divine punishment upon you. The teeth, the breath, and the hair. Now stand close to an Athenian citizen in casual conversation and brace yourself, because the breath situation in 500 BC is genuinely challenging. There is no toothbrush, there is no mint paste. What exists instead is a handful of improvised solutions of wildly varying effectiveness. Wealthier Greeks clean their teeth by rubbing them vigorously with a rough cloth or their own fingers, using powders made from crushed charcoal, ground pumice stone, or pulverized oyster shells to scrub away the yellow film. The abrasion works to some degree. Archaeological examination of ancient Greek skeletal remains shows notably less tooth decay than you might expect, largely because their diet contained almost no refined sugar. What they suffered from instead was significant tooth wear from those abrasive cleaning powders and from chewing coarse, gritty bread. For the breath itself, the Greeks chewed aromatic herbs, fresh mint, fennel seeds, anise, and the resinous sap of the mastic tree, a fragrant gum harvested from the island of Chios, all served as the ancient world's version of a breath mint. Chewing mastic in particular was so widespread that the habit entered the Greek language itself. The English word masticate derives directly from it. Hair was a different obsession. The Greeks were deeply, almost neurotically preoccupied with their hair, and a man's hairstyle communicated his age, status, and even his political allegiance with remarkable precision. Young boys wore their hair long as a symbol of youth and vulnerability. Upon reaching manhood, they ritually cut their hair short and dedicated the shorn locks to a god, typically Apollo, at a temple shrine. Adult male citizens kept their hair neatly trimmed and carefully oiled into place. To appear in public with disheveled, dirty hair was a public statement of mourning, madness, or social disgrace. Women's hair, kept long and elaborately pinned, was washed with a mixture of water and wood ash lye, a mildly alkaline solution that cut through grease, then rinsed with diluted wine vinegar to restore shine. The scent of the vinegar rinse mingles with the olive oil and cooking smoke in every Athenian household, a smell that is utterly specific to this moment in history. Perfume, powder, and the politics of smell. Here is the part that surprises almost everyone. The ancient Greeks were absolutely obsessed with perfume. Wandering through the Agora, the great marketplace at the heart of Athens, you would find entire stalls devoted exclusively to the trade in aromatic oils and scented unguents. Perfumers, myropoli, were respected craftsmen who blended infused olive oil with rose petals, iris root, lily, saffron, and imported resins from the Near East. These fragrant oils were worn daily by anyone who could afford them, applied to the skin and hair after bathing, and used to scent clothing stored in cedar chests. The politics of smell in ancient Athens were serious. To smell of clean sweat after vigorous exercise at the gymnasium was perfectly acceptable, even admirable, a sign of athletic virtue. To smell of cheap rancid oil, stale clothing, or unwashed skin in a social setting was deeply shameful, a mark of poverty or sloth. To smell of fine imported perfume was a display of taste and wealth. Smell was a social currency, and the Athenians spent it deliberately. Even the dead were perfumed. Corpses were anointed with scented oil before burial, as both a practical preservation measure and a ritual act of respect, sending the soul into the afterlife wrapped in the smell of flowers rather than mortality. The body as a reflection of the mind. To truly understand why the Greeks cared so deeply about personal cleanliness, you have to understand one foundational philosophical belief that ran beneath every strigil stroke, every herb-chewed breath, and every carefully oiled lock of hair. The Greeks believed with absolute conviction that the condition of the body reflected the condition of the soul. A clean, exercised, well-groomed body was
Receive
not
this holy
vanity,
water for
it was
purification.
arete,
Bless you,
excellence,
Go in
virtue,
peace.
the highest human quality. The great Athenian philosophers debated endlessly about the relationship between physical discipline and moral character. To neglect your body was to neglect your inner life. To present yourself to the world clean, oiled, and composed was to announce that you were a person worthy of respect, capable of reason, fit for citizenship. So, the next time you reach for your toothbrush and your bottle of shampoo without a second thought, spare a moment for the Athenian citizen of 500 BC, crouching over a stone hip bath with a sea sponge and a jar of olive oil, scraping the day from his skin with a curved blade, chewing mastic to sweeten his breath, and heading out into the marble-bright morning, convinced that a clean body and a clear mind were in the end exactly the same thing.